Today's guests on episode 13 of the Tone Countrycast with Tim Holland are two members of the new country rock supergirl band Southbound. The first of those members, Rachael Fahim, won the 2017 Star Maker contest and has gone on to become one of the highest streamed artists in Australian country music. While Missy Lancaster has also achieved great things as a solo artist with two #1 videos on the Country Music Channel and a #1 ARIA Australian Country Artist debut album to her credit. Welcome to the Tone Country Cast, Rachael Fahim and Missy Lancaster. How you going, guys?
How are you, Tim?
Very well. Now, in the spirit of your new single, Drink, I insisted that we all pour one before we start this. So
Yes.
What are you guys drinking?
You go, Rach, first.
I'm actually cheating the system and drinking a kombucha.
Oh, wow.
I know, don't hate me.
I'm drinking a
I've
cab
actually
stab.
I've had a really big day, and it's just like I don't think I can do a glass of alcohol tonight because tomorrow is a big day.
Fair enough.
So-
It's very responsible.
Yeah.
You can
I'll
enjoy
take one for
drink,
the
but
team,
also
like always.
be responsible.
Yes.
Missy, you've got the red going on there, I can see.
I've got a nice glass of cab stab. It's Penfolds.
Very
It's
nice.
my favorite red. What have you got?
I've gone with the Scotch and Dry with the Madison Square Garden glass.
Oh,
which I-
nice.
Very, very precious.
Did you get that from Madison Square?
Funnily enough, yes. Yes, I did.
Really?
Billy Joel concert. Billy Joel concerts last year, and it's a very, very prized thing of mine. Now, how have you girls been going with COVID? I read something this morning. I can't remember where I read it, but it stated that 18 to 35-year-olds are drinking more now as a result of getting onto Zoom and catching up with friends.
Yes. Well, cheers to that. I
Interesting.
think, definitely, just being at home, and just kind of not knowing when our next gig is going to be, and just kind of not having any direction has been really hard. And I think, the music industry as a whole has taken a huge hit. So I think, across the board, probably everyone's drinking a little bit more. But in saying that, I've been getting up to some writing, and I've been baking and cooking things that I wouldn't normally do. So I suppose there's
So
good side in that.
everyone's supposed to have taken up a new hobby. Has that been cooking and baking for you, Missy, or
Yeah,
you've always done
well,
that?
for those that know me quite well, I'm not a very good cook. I'm not very good in the kitchen, but I've been practicing and getting better.
You are now.
Yeah, sorry.
As a result of COVID, you've become a much better cook, perhaps.
Exactly, with a little help of red wine too.
What about you, Rachel? How have you been dealing with the COVID crisis and isolation?
Yeah, look, I actually am kind of enjoying it. I'm very much a homebody, so I love staying home and I don't know, being with my family and just kind of doing nothing, slobbing around in my pajamas all day. So it's been really good for me, I think, just kind of reset, I think.
Mm.
Really nice.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
you're
think
not
I've
over it yet.
been with
You're
the rest
still
of the
happy not
population.
to,
What was
actually
that, sorry?
not over it yet. You're still happy to not see. Well, actually, people can kind of catch up now, can't they? I mean, and if you go onto Instagram, I mean, everyone's breaking social distancing rules. It's getting quite funny now.
Yeah,
It is.
and I don't think anyone's taking it too seriously at the moment, which is kind of bad, but
Mm.
I think we're kind of in the clear now.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yes. Have you been binging on any TV shows? Did you get into the Tiger King? The Michael
I
Jordan
did,
documentary?
actually. I actually started watching it with a bunch of friends, and we were on Netflix party. Anyway, we watched like 3 episodes together, and then the other 2 went ahead and watched the rest of them without me. So I was like, fine, be like that. And I watched them all on my own, the end of the series. But it was really interesting, really funny, interesting people.
Quite bizarre, very bizarre. It's amazing what is out there in the world that we just don't know about. Tiger King was one of those people.
Isn't it?
Well, I heard somewhere that on with the Tiger King series, how Carol Baskin, her husband's murder is now being looked into. I can't remember where I heard that, but because of the series, I think it was on Facebook. There was like an article. I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah, really, really interesting.
No, everything on Facebook is true. Everything you read on Facebook is true.
I thought everything on social media isn't true. It's all a lie.
It is.
It's hard to know. It's all a mystery, really. Missy, have you been doing any Zoom songwriting?
I actually haven't. I haven't done any Zoom songwriting yet. I find it really hard. Normally when you go into a room with writers, I like to bounce off that energy, and it's really hard, when you're looking off your iPhone or an iPad, to sort of have that energy. And a lot of the time, I've been in contact with a lot of my Nashville friends, and just trying to organize a session with the time difference and the dates has been really confusing. So I haven't been doing too much Zoom writing, but I've been, writing at the studio and just trying to, jot down any creative ideas that I have. And I suppose, this whole COVID season, I guess you could call it, has been a good time for me to sort of reflect and just sort of think about how I can write about maybe like certain situations that I've experienced, how I can write about it from a different perspective. I might have written about it from my own perspective in the past, but how can I write about it from the eyes of someone else, I guess.
What about you, Rachel? Have you given Zoom songwriting a go?
I have, yeah. I agree with Missy. Like, it is really hard to bounce off another artist when you are just looking at them through a screen. But I've actually really enjoyed the writes that I've done. I've done a few with some artists that I haven't actually met before. So, I'm making new friends at the same time as writing some really fun little isolation songs. But I definitely can't wait to get back into an actual studio with actual people.
Yes.
And songwrite in a room where the vibe is just electric.
Yes. Nothing beats actual communication and actually hanging out with actual people. Yes. Now, Rachel, let's talk about...
Actually.
Let's talk about your career so far. I guess your big break was winning Star Maker in 2017. And, as a result of that, you've been able, you got to play it, pretty much everywhere for a year. And you also got a car. Did you have to give that car back after a year, or do you get to keep it?
I did. Yeah, no, that was an awesome year. I thoroughly enjoyed every second of that year. I've got a bubble in my throat. I hate that. But yeah, unfortunately, at the end of the year, I did have to give the car back to Toyota. But I was lucky enough to be able to continue the sponsorship with my local Toyota. So unfortunately, because of COVID, though, that has now ended. But that's fine. Like, I'm still really close with the dealership, and they're great people to have around for maybe a possible tour, and we can do something with Toyota then. But yeah, the whole Toyota Star Maker thing really did set me up.
So that's something that no one's talked about. Artists losing cars from their sponsors as a result of COVID-19.
I know, very unfair.
Well, I mean, it's probably the best time to have to give a car back, considering
I wasn't
really
too
needed
bummed.
to drive
I
one.
understood. I was like, yeah, that's fair enough. Like, every business is struggling right now. Like, whether it's the musicians, whether it's the car dealerships, or just like the little cafe down the street. Like, everybody is feeling the pinch right now. So I completely understood. I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I've been driving around Dad's old Land Cruiser, which is great. It's huge. and I have a lot of trouble parking it, as Missy would know from our other weekend.
Oh.
I do have to say though, Rach is quite a good parker. If ever we're out in public, I just have this thing with like parallel parking and reverse parking. I'm like, Rach,
Yeah.
can you get in the driver's
Yeah.
Also,
get in the driver's
you
seat and
freak
just park the
Rachel
car
out,
for
and
me?
that gives her anxiety, and then something happens. Well, hopefully not.
Well, there was this one. Yeah, there was this one time in Tamworth that actually just reminded me you saying that. I don't even know what night it was, but we were gonna go out and get some takeaway. So Missy was like, "Oh, I'll drive." So it was me and my friend Danny, like in the passenger seat in the back,
Chinese.
and we like, yeah, we got Chinese food that night. We rocked up to the Chinese place, and we're in the middle of Peel Street, like it's like one way this way and one way that way. And we see a parking spot right outside the front of the Chinese place, and Missy's like, I can't do it, I can't. So she literally got out in the middle of the road. The car was stopped. She got out in the middle of the road, ran to the path. I ran into the driver's seat and parked her car for it. It was great.
I know.
Good story.
I know.
One for the grandkids.
I am a good driver most of the time, but
No, you are. You are.
yeah, thank you. Yep.
That's good. That's good. It's safe to go in a car with both of you.
Yeah.
No doubt.
We promise we won't drive off a cliff.
Fantastic. Now, Rachel, you've, following Winning Star Maker, have put out an EP and released a number of songs. And as I said before in the intro, you've become one of the most successful streaming artists in country music in Australia. Well, why do you think that's been? I mean, has this been an organic build, or has the music has been awesome? And,
Yeah,
it's
like
just
I think
worked.
I've been pretty lucky with the songs that I've released. Like I'm not one to, want to write all of my songs. I have had songs by really talented songwriters, and I think that's a huge I think that's really important to have songs that I connect with and that I can sing that other songwriters have written, because if I connect with a song, then other people are most likely going to connect with it. And I think I've just been really lucky in the fact that the songs I've released people have connected with, and that's kind of I guess been really good for my streaming numbers and good for me as an artist. And yeah, like along with that though, like I do work really hard and I have a really great team around me to support everything that I'm doing. And yeah, I think without hard work, I definitely wouldn't be, I guess, in the position that I'm in right now.
It's interesting. A lot of your songs appear on sort of genreless playlists, more mood-based playlists, so to speak. Do you think that streaming, allows you to stretch things a bit more than perhaps in the past, where radio has been a bit more, I guess still is a bit more defined, format-wise?
Yeah, I think with Spotify and Apple Music and like all the streaming services, it definitely opens up a lot more avenues for artists to be found. I think that with the Spotify playlists, I'm just saying that because I listen to a lot of Spotify playlists because they're curated really, really well. They, I don't know, just yeah, I don't know. I think they just give artists a lot more of an opportunity to be, played by random people. Like you just pop up in a random playlist one day, and then that person's like, hey, like I'm just gonna check out their other stuff. Awesome opportunities.
You've also worked with a bunch of people, Peter Holes, Joe Delahyde, people like that, who haven't really worked in country before. So is that a bit of a rebellious side coming out in you?
No, I just love finding new people to work with.
Trying to change the game, change it up.
Yeah. Look, as much as I'd like to try and be rebellious, I'm definitely not the rebellious type. I'm drinking kombucha. I think when it comes to collaborating, I think it's really, really awesome to try and find people that aren't in the same genre as you. Like, it's awesome if I can find a great country producer or a great country artist to write with. But the most interesting songs and the most surprising songs come out of sessions where the artists are from like different areas, like different genres, different vibes. Like I think it's just like a nice mesh to come together and everyone just, I don't know, vibes and write something cool.
Speaking of collaborations, one of your biggest songs has been the duet with Brad Cox, Even If I Wanted To. How did that come about? I mean, obviously Brad's also a star maker. Did that have anything to do with it, or was it just more about the song and you thought he was right? He was the right fit.
Kind of. So I think the way that Brad and I met was through Star Maker. So when we had this song that we were like, we really want to do it as a duet, we want a male vocal, it kind of just seemed natural to ask Brad because I love his voice. I think he's got an awesome personality, to kind of, you know, he's got that very like Luke Combs kind of like grunt, and people are just really loving Brad right now. I think it's really, really cool, what he's doing, and I just really, really loved his work. So I guess I just wanted him on the track.
Missy, you came second in Star Maker, I think a year before. So why didn't you win?
I didn't win.
What happened?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know.
But I think from memory, on the day of the Star Maker final, you were like on the front page of the Sunday Telegraph in Sydney.
I was.
Which is like, I think that's like the only time I've ever seen a country artist on the cover of the Sunday Telegraph. Maybe Keith and Nicole's wedding day might have been the other time, but
I know.
Was that maybe a bad omen? You know, because that was the morning of the final and then you didn't win.
It was. I think, you know, that year I was not expecting everything to kind of, you know, have happened the way that it did. And I had entered Star Maker and, you know, I was happy enough to be in the top 10 and just to perform at, you know, Tamworth Town Hall and all of that kind of stuff. And then when I made the grand final, that was like, oh, okay, like this is actually like really serious. And I had, you know, a whole bunch of gigs booked for that Tamworth. I was, you know, running here, there, everywhere. And I had just released my independent EP called Missy. So, you know, that really took a huge toll on my voice. And then, you know, I made it into the top 3 of Toyota Star Maker. So that was crazy. And I think just by the end of the week, my voice was just really, really tired. But I gave it my all, and I suppose we're here, and you know, I love everything that Toyota Star Maker does, and I think it's a great, you know, starting point for any artist that are looking at starting a career in country music.
It didn't, you know, the disappointment of coming, you know, so close but not quite close enough. Kind of subsided pretty quickly for you because you ended up getting a record deal with Sony Music. So, I mean, you know, that was a pretty good consolation prize, so to speak. You got to work with me for a couple of years.
I did get to work with you. I know. Yes. And I loved having you as a part of my team. It was awesome. And, you know, I think it just goes to show that, you know, sometimes in music, and this is something that I'm learning, you know, just in life in general, sometimes we think in our head, okay, the way that you know, start a career is you do this, you do this, you do this, you tick all these boxes, and then you get to here. And sometimes, you know, life, you know, throws things in the way, and definitely not winning Star Maker, I was like, okay, so I didn't win Star Maker, so now what do I do? But then, you know, the universe will throw other opportunities your way that you kind of never would have thought would have happened. So I was very lucky, in that respect. And I suppose just the biggest lesson is to just do things your own way, because you are the only version of you in this world.
Well, it's been great to see, you know, you grow in confidence and evolve as an artist. And, you know, I think that really comes to the fore as one of the members of Southbound, which we'll talk about in a sec. But you did put out a solo record of your own, which came in at number 1 on the Australian Artists ARIA Country chart. So how how do you go about making that first record? I mean, is that something you kind of had been thinking about since you were a kid? Did you write it in 6 months and then put it out? I mean, what was that process for that first album?
Yeah, the process for me was very much, I've always been like a huge fan of Taylor Swift and the Climates and Keith Urban. And I think I just really wanted to make a record that kind of reflected what I loved, listening to as a teenager, and, the songs that made my heart feel all warm and fuzzy. And I think it was my third trip to Nashville. That was when, we had the album in the works. So we were kind of planning. And my first session I went into was one with Josh Kerr, who ended up producing a lot of the songs on the album. And the first song that we wrote was the first single, called Forget. And, we just seemed to, hit it off really quick. And it kind of felt like, the first song being Forget, it felt like it set the tone of the whole record, I guess. And then I just, had an idea in my head of what I wanted it to sound like. And I suppose all the kind of emotions that I had experienced, from my teenage years, and then kind of getting like launched into country music, I guess.
Mm. And of course, Josh Kerr, that you speak of, is now married to Tay from Maddie and Tay.
He
There
is.
you go. Something exciting for the listeners if
Pretty
they didn't
cool.
know who Tay from
I know.
Maddie and Tay was actually married to.
Yeah.
During that time you put that first album out, you also went to Uganda. Now that obviously was a bit of a life-changing experience. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, going to Uganda was completely life-changing. I had never experienced anything like that before. And I also didn't know what to expect because, growing up here in Australia, we are very lucky and we are very privileged. So it was a huge eye-opener for me to go over there. And, I love being the ambassador of International Needs Australia, and I'm very grateful that they were able to send me over there. And I think it was a really great wake up call for me, just to not take things for granted, because we have access to clean running water here. We don't have to walk 10 kilometers to get water. We're lucky enough that we can walk into a park and have that access to fresh water. So it was very very eye-opening experience for me.
Mm. And another thing you kind of opened up to fans about during that period of putting out that album was an eating disorder you've spoken about as a teenager. Now that must have been, it's a very courageous thing to open up about. Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm getting to a place where I'm feeling like I can sort of separate myself from the eating disorder. I guess it was a very, very, very challenging time. And, a lot of people that have been through eating disorders or know someone who has experienced an eating disorder, it's not just the physical aspect of it. It's not just, that you don't want to eat. Deep down, there's a lot of demons, I suppose, that you have to face. And yeah, for me, I feel like it really has shaped me into the person that I am today. And I know that sounds really cliche, but I think it is something that never really goes away. But like the team at Westmead Hospital, I was diagnosed when I was 17, and the team at Westmead Hospital really helped me overcome that. So I applaud them for all their hard work, and especially the Butterfly Foundation. They do amazing things for young men and women, and I think it is really important to acknowledge that it isn't only females that experience eating disorders. It's actually, there are males that experience it as well. So I suppose, yeah, it is, important to touch upon, as much as I might not want to talk about it sometimes or sing about it, it is important to touch upon those dark times, because, it is important for me to kind of show my experience and not just the highlight reel, if that makes sense.
Mm. Let's talk now more specifically about Southbound. Rachel, this is, I guess a bit of a concept that you've kind of been the brainchild of. How has this supergroup, so to speak, come about?
I guess my management have for a while kind of had this idea in his head where they were like, let's put together a bunch of girls, do a country rock group, and see what happens. And originally we were supposed to be called Country Girls, so the name has come a long way.
It's evolved.
But I remember,
It has.
yeah, I remember chatting about this like 2 years ago, and Missy just seemed like the perfect, fellow country music artist to ask. Missy and I have been friends for, I think we were talking about this last night, like 9 years or something like that. It's been a long time. Yeah. So, when we pulled Missy on board, she was 110% keen, and then we found Sarah and we found Andy, and all of us together are just, I don't know, working really hard on making this the best possible country rock girls group that we can be. We're writing some songs, we're working on some collaborations, we are obviously releasing music. So yeah, it's all kind of just happened really quickly, but loving it.
Let's talk about the other two members of the band. Sarah Barnardo, who is originally from Canada.
Yes, Canada. She is.
And she's a total hoot.
Love it.
She is a hoot. We love it.
It's good fun. I think she's in another band as well, but that's not a country band.
No, it's like a rock kind of. I don't know how to explain that. The other genre, but
punk.
Rock punk. I like it. I like follow them on Instagram and look at all their covers and their originals. Yeah, it's really cool to have, people in the band that have other things that they're working on as well. It just keeps it really interesting. Lots of flavors.
And I guess that goes back to what you were talking about before, about having people, collaborate from different perspectives.
Yeah, totally.
Which will add something unique to the band. And Andrea, now she was, who plays lead guitar, she was born in Vienna to Slovakian parents.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
That's what it says in the bio. I'm just wondering how...
I was like, that explains her good looks.
How does someone born in Vienna to Slovakian parents end up in a country band in Australia?
Look, I don't know, but we're glad she's here.
She is fantastic. She's a very, very good guitar player.
She's amazing.
And I guess when... you see a Southbound show, and I was lucky enough to see your very first show at the Tamworth Country Music Festival. I guess it's a lot of fun. I guess as solo artists, you're probably pouring your heart out a bit more than you are, as members of Southbound, where you're rocking out a bit more.
Yeah. Sorry, you can take this one, Miss.
Yeah, I think, we really wanted to do something that just sort of took the energy to the stage, and, having all girls, we love the all female concept. And, I've always loved just kind of going up on stage and just rocking out and having a good time. And I think, with our solo careers, there are places for, those heartfelt and deep kind of emotional kind of songs. And then, Southbound is just a lot of fun for us. And, for Rach and myself and the other girls, like, we just love rocking out on stage and hanging out and having a good time.
And when you see a Southbound show, Missy, you'll do some of your songs that are, I guess, a good fit for a Southbound show. Rachel, the same, will do a couple of yours. And then obviously you've written and recorded some Southbound songs themselves. so far a familiar theme with the first and second single, i.e. drinking.
Yeah.
Is that
So many
theme set
people
to
like,
continue?
yeah, so many people are bringing that up, and it's just like, well, what song doesn't mention a drink? Like, we are just trying to own that with, just, I don't know, we
Are
love a
we?
good
Are we? Are we right at this moment, Rachel? I think I'm
drink.
taking one for the team here.
I think so. Oh, I know. I'm kind of pussying out tonight.
But yeah, I think we love going out and having a great time. So, and we're not afraid to show that as well.
Mm. It must be very frustrating having done one show, and I know that you then went and played in New York after the Tamworth Festival, but you've been, you were on the Groundwater lineup, which has now been postponed. We don't know if or when that festival will be on this year. I think you're in the lineup for the VDM festival up in North Queensland later in the year, but who knows? Who knows whether that'll take place? It must be obviously very frustrating that you can't go out and play after doing all those rehearsals.
Yeah, I definitely, like, I think speak for all of us. We were all very bummed about the news about most of the festivals being cancelled, even the ones that we weren't on. And we had some really cool support spots. Like, we had one for Shannon, and he's a legend. So, like, we were so excited for that one. But there's so many people that are disappointed about things that have been cancelled. So we can't dwell on that. Like, hopefully when this is all over, the festivals will pick back up again and we'll get spots again. But it is a bit disheartening to just start this really awesome project that we're all really having a lot of fun with, and we seem to, people seem to be loving it as well. And then we start to do a bit well, and then it just like all goes away, and it's a little bit frustrating. But what do you do?
But at least no one has left the band now.
Yeah.
You probably would have heard last week that Hannah from Runaway June left the band.
Yes,
She
did. I saw
as a
that
result
too.
of realising that she wanted to spend more time with her family in LA. And Natalie Stovall is the new member of Runaway June.
She?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
So they will continue with a new member. They're going very, very well. So that was quite a shock, I think, to a lot of people. But it seems to have been the most amicable parting I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Lots of love. No. Often with these things, it all sound very nice, and a couple of days later there'll be some scandalous story about what really happened. Well, it appears like there's no scandalous story
Rach and
at all.
I punching on out the front of Moonshine. Only kidding. We wouldn't do.
Well, who knows what'll happen in the future.
Tamworth scandals.
Yes. Hopefully not.
Speaking of the future, obviously you've still both got solo careers. I guess you're kind of planning this so that you can kind of coexist doing both without too many issues.
Yeah, definitely. Our solo careers are definitely, number one for us, and Southbound is a side project, but we are absolutely loving, working as a group. And as well, I think it just brings something really different to the industry as well, because there are no other all-female girl groups, if that makes sense. And, it's also given us, another platform, I guess, to launch our original music off.
What was I going to say? I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. So I'll move on.
We'll forgive you.
Drink, the new single, which is out now. It was released last Friday. How did that song come about? Missy, I think you wrote or co-wrote this one?
Yeah, so it was actually the day I wrote the song. It was one of my first days in Nashville, last May when I arrived, and I was just having one of those days where everything that could go wrong did. And I remember the bank had like locked me out of my like card account, and I had given the cash that I had to the lady that I was staying with, so I didn't have any cash. And it was just a really stressful time. So I was calling my dad at home going, Dad, I need your card details because I've got 3 writing sessions today and I can't get anywhere. And I remember getting to this session and my brain was just absolutely fried. And it was really great to, to be working with David Mascon and Bruce Wallace, who I've written with previously, and Rach has as well on our solo stuff. And when I got into the session, I was like, guys, I've just had the worst day. This has happened. This has happened. And they were like, oh, let's just order a pizza and just like have some beers and then we'll just see whatever, comes out. So having a couple of drinks in the studio and pizza, and yeah, we just sort of started singing like, had a couple of beers one time, fixed a couple of tears one night. And then it just kind of rolled into this whole thing, and we're all in the studio going, I said, hey, hey. And I'd have to say it was probably like the quickest song, that I've ever written, and we had an absolute ball writing it, and it just felt right for Southbound, to release it.
Mm.
I think
Have you got other
from the moment
songs?
we all heard it, we loved it.
Yeah, have you got other songs locked away for future releases as yet?
Yes, we do.
Fantastic.
Yes. Sorry, I'm nodding my head, but then I'm like, you can't see me.
I can. You're right there.
Yes.
Right
Yeah,
there.
definitely some more songs in the works.
You mustn't be on Grid View, Rachel. You must be on the other one. Now, I want to ask you both this question. It's something I ask everyone when they do the podcast. Maybe we'll go with you, Rachel, first. If you had one piece of advice to give an up-and-coming young artist, what would that be?
I always like to say that you need to, like, as an up-and-coming artist, I wish someone would have told me this. You kind of need to know, like, I don't know how to word this properly. You need to kind of know how to do everything yourself. Like, be as independent and smart as possible, because when it comes down to it, the only person that's really going to push you as hard as you need to be pushed is yourself. So I don't know. I always like to kind of push that one. Yeah.
What about you, Missy?
Yeah, I think for me, the most important advice I would give is to just really believe in what you're doing. You have to believe in yourself and you have to believe in your project, I guess. And everyone will have an opinion. And sometimes people won't like your music and people won't like how you perform. And sometimes, like people will have conflicting opinions. Someone will tell you one thing and then another person will tell you another thing. But at the end of the day, you just have to really go within and go with what feels right deep down, because you're the one that has to get up on stage and perform, and you're the one that has to sell it, I guess. And if you don't believe in yourself, then who else is going to believe in you?
Do you get a thicker skin as time goes on, Because everyone has got an opinion. People like me have an opinion,
Yeah.
And, it's their job to at times tell artists, But I also, have seen the other side of that too, where can doesn't feel very nice. I mean, with anyone that does anything, when someone says, "Oh, maybe if you did it that way, you'd do it better," not particularly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like,
yeah, and I think being like a young female is really hard. Just in like today's society, especially being in the music industry. And I find even myself that I really have to try and separate myself from that and go, okay, I know that that's not a personal attack on me as a person. It has nothing to do with that. And everyone is definitely entitled to their own opinion. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and go, okay, that's fine. That's their opinion, and try and take it on board as well as you can without, getting super caught up in the emotional side of it, which is, you know, obviously easier said than done.
Very wise words indeed, Missy. Rachael, Missy, thank you so much for being on the Tone Country Cast today. Good luck with the new single, Drink. I have a feeling it's going to be a big hit for you guys. It's a banger.
Yay!
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching the Tone Country Cast. Remember to click subscribe so you get all the new episodes as soon as they go live. I'm Tim Holland, and I look forward to your company next time on the next episode of the Tone Country Cast.